Welcome back, I suppose. This might turn into a whole series. I got back here off screen, and apparently the orange has respawned. Just gonna roll it off, as people tend to do. Now, I'm not sure how I would like to go about the rest of this series, if it is indeed going to be a series, because my understanding of course, how this game works is if you make a mistake, you get set back pretty far, and I've already shown everything up to this point, so I feel like my commentary might become highly interrupted if I try to do a constant stream again, because there is a pretty good chance of me falling off right here, and not really being able to do anything except just cut back to where I was. And there's also the matter of me having to pause because I have congestion. Alright. Gotta be careful with this once again. It took me longer than I would have liked to get back to this point, so hopefully I can manage this reasonably well. Start by doing generally what I did before. As I always say, slow and steady wins basically everything except a race. Except I found an exception to that the other day, and I can't remember what that exception was. So I should say, just for honesty's sake, that I do know what the reward is for beating this game, and I have seen the entirety of the game, even though I shouldn't know either of those things. So, take what you will of that. I am bad. Bad. But, let's see, can I move a little bit closer to this rock? Well, it's not quite what I wanted, but that'll work, maybe. I felt like my second time going through this, the controls were a lot more sensitive for some reason. Just set yourself down gently. That is less gently than I wanted. These sloped rocks, man. Alright, just ease yourself on over. What I'm tempted to do is just try to launch myself from here, but I don't know if I'm going to get enough height that way. I could do what I tried to do before, but obviously that failed, so just trying to determine, like, as a strange amount of this game is just strategy. It doesn't seem like it would be that strategic, but it is. Oh yeah, that was no good. Move yourself closer somehow. If I was a crazy speedrunner, I would just get through this part in 2 seconds, but I am not. Just launching myself like an Olympic champion. Let's just go for it. Going for it did not work. Oh yeah, I was going to turn on the voices again.
It might have been. John Greenleaf Whittier.
Well, I will see you back at the Orange Cliff, which people apparently call Orange Hell. I'm not really sure if that's the most apt description of it, but eh. But actually, maybe I'll keep this trip, if it's not too long, just to hopefully showcase what I've learned. Which is not much. I'm still not great with these stairs, and apparently I am just dreadful at the part after this. Well, that worked pretty well, actually.
If you try to please audiences, uncritically accepting their tastes, it can only mean that you have no respect for them. Andrei Tarkovsky.
I'm keeping that quote in because that's one that I found really interesting the first time that I heard it. that is definitely a quote I want to hear more context with, because I don't know for sure if I agree with it, but it seems like something I could agree with if I understood it better. Oh, right, before I forget to mention it, the message that I saw that I thought was in Spanish is actually Italian, and it means danger of falling. So that's more or less what I guessed, but I apologize for not knowing what language it was. Like I said, I'm really not that well versed in many languages. It took me a while to even distinguish between Japanese and Chinese, because I'm uncultured. You uncultured swine, what are you looking at, you hockey puck? Happy days are here again. I wonder if this would help to turn off the motion blur, because it seems like that causes some lag. Yeah, if this is Orange Hell, then Orange Hell is oddly peaceful. Okay. I feel a little bit more confident about that jump now, which might be a bad thing. Gotta admire the programming here, how if you show some resistance with the hammer, then the handle bends a little bit. Well, that was no good either. I did not get knocked to the bottom, though, so that's okay by me. Before I jinx myself now. Can I just say that one thing I find unusual about the music in this game, there's a few different songs, and I think 2 of them have cornbread and beans in the lyrics, which seems like a very oddly specific thing to have repeated lines for. I'm pretty sure it's 2 different songs. So, I don't know, maybe that's like a common lyric in country music, for all I know. So is that kid supposed to be a real kid? Is he a statue? I assume he's a statue. How come the kid can sit still on the slide while I slide down the slide all the time? Also, just looking at these boxes, apparently these boxes do not have insides, these white ones with the holes in them, because you can see straight through them.
No. When to the sessions of sweet silent thought I summon up remembrance of things past, I sigh the lack of many a thing I sought, and with old woes new, wail my dear time's waste. William Shakespeare, Sonnet 30.
That's the second William Shakespeare quote in this whole shebang. Oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling Clementine. Here we are again. Didn't take quite as long to get back here this time, but still worried every time about this first jump. Yep, as I should have been. Still getting some lag. Do I have to reduce the quality even more? Let's try it. Mediocre. Yeah, now we got some really messed up looking shadows on Strongman here. Gosh, those shadows look bad.
Your failure here is a metaphor. To learn for what, please resume climbing. Rob Dubbin.
I kind of enjoyed that quote, because it seems like one that would belong to Bennett Foddy himself, but then it's to someone else. I don't like the look of that grip. Well, I probably should have committed to it, because this isn't any better.
Laugh and the world laughs with you. Weep, and you weep alone. For the sad old earth must borrow its mirth, but has trouble.
I don't know if I agree with this quote.
Ella Weaver Wilcox.
I'm guessing, like, I kind of understand the purpose of it, like, positivity is good to spread, negativity not so much, but assuming that's what it means, I don't really know for sure. But I don't like the idea of weep and you weep alone, like, that doesn't seem very encouraging. I've heard that there's a church after the Cliff of Rocks that I've been struggling with, and after that point there's not really any more danger of falling back down to the slide. I know about the snake that you're not supposed to ride, and then if you ride it you go all the way back to the beginning. Just like that frickin' Super Mario Sunshine pipe. Honestly, it's impressive that this game is as intuitive to play as it is, once you fine-tune the controls for yourself. Do I want this? Yeah, alright. Set yourself down. Set your bad self down. You know, I thought there was some ambient occlusion on the cauldron. Like it changes colors depending on what's around it. And it still might, but because I have the graphical quality turned down, maybe it doesn't really have that so much right now. It wasn't super noticeable, but it's a minor detail that's kind of nice. I don't know how I feel about that grip. Bring myself a little closer. Maybe that's a little better. And then it's going to slide a little bit, probably. Oh, not as much as I thought. Stop. Stop it. Alright, and this... Still unsure exactly how I want to handle this. I think just the same way that I handled getting up the cliff from the little desk of oranges. Just, it's going to be a little bit less convenient. Gotta go slowly so that the potential of sliding... Okay, maybe not so slowly. Maybe that's not what I want to do. Don't want to try to jump from here. I think I did that before and it didn't work very well, so I'm not gonna want to do that again. It came so close to working the other time that I did this in the last video, so I can't help but think this is kind of the way you're supposed to do it, is just with this. If I can get the right balance. It's not quite what I wanted. Apologies for very unimpressive commentary.
My heart with nothing. Someone told me not to cry. Now that I'm older, my heart's colder. I can see that it's a lie. The arcade fire.
The arcade fire. So did someone just play this game so hard that they set the entire arcade on fire? Because clearly this is an arcade game. Yeah, I've been checking out some other Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy videos to see how different my approach to this game is than other people who have played it. I'd seen the Grumps play this game, and I've seen Donkey play the game, but I hadn't really seen much of Markiplier play the game, and I just go and check out his first video, and it's called Literally Throw a Chair in Rage. And, yeah, sure enough, I did check out the video, and he does indeed throw a chair. Interestingly enough, at a point that didn't seem particularly rage-inducing. He just kind of... like, he got back to where he was, he didn't even fall, and then he threw a chair. Even after all that I've done to reduce the quality, it's still lagging. So we'll just put it on bad, at least until further notice. Once we're out of this section, maybe it'll be okay. Why does Bennett Potty here have to still be rendered very impressively? Like a custom Mass Effect character.
I stand amid the roar of a surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the golden sand. How few, yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep.
One thing that I've noticed is that there is most likely Not that I would have any idea how to do it, but there's most likely a way to, like, swing up and grab the stairs that way.
But a dream within a dream.
Actually, I'm gonna give it another attempt, because that seemed kind of close. No, I don't think I'm gonna do it.
Woe and not be in sorrow too? Can I see another's grief and not seek for kind relief? William Blake.
Finally went with another William besides Shakespeare there. Good job. Why isn't this... Okay, here we go. I was using the hammer as an actual hammer there for a moment. Would you imagine that? I think some people refer to this as a rage game. I don't know if that's really true. I feel like a rage game does as much as it can to be unfair to the player, and is just needlessly hard in every possible regard, but it seems more like an anti-rage game. It's actively trying to get you not to rage at it. Alright, here we go. Am I prepared for this jump again?
Our
Not
doubts
quite.
Are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. William Shakespeare, Measure for Measure.
Another William Shakespeare quote. I didn't realize there were 3 of them, but I'm pretty sure that's the 3rd one. But he's not wrong. I mean, I keep doubting my own game design, even though I've said before, like, I'm done with overthinking. I feel like I am, but that doesn't mean I haven't stopped doubting in certain cases. But I just gotta go for it. Kind of like going for it in this game and getting over it.
There are no regrets in life, just lessons. Jennifer Aniston.
I'm kind of... I don't know why I would be surprised that Jennifer Aniston is the one to say that, but... it is something that I've thought about before. I don't particularly regret anything that I've done in my life because I know that, that in the end, I did whatever seemed like the best decision at the at the time. Even if I didn't think it was a good decision, it was still a decision that I made that reflected my thought process at the time. And I couldn't have really done anything better with the mindset that I had at that time, so why would I regret it unless I consciously made a decision that wasn't the most logical one to my mind, which doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I'm back at the bottom again. It happens.
Pain has an element of blank. It cannot recollect when it began, or if there were a day when it was not. It has no future but itself. Its infinite realms contain its past, enlightened to perceive new periods of pain. Emily Dickinson.
Thanks, Emily Dickinson. Do you mind filling in what that blank was? I mean, I assume that whenever she said blank, she did mean blank, and not something else to fill it in, but it just sounds really weird. Then again, she's a poet, if I recall correctly, and poets don't always have particularly easy to understand terminology. I don't think that's the right word for it, but phrasing, maybe.
Oft expectation fails, and most oft where most it promises, and oft it hits where hope is coldest and despair most sits. William Shakespeare, All's Well That Ends Well.
Another William Shakespeare quote. Maybe the entire basis of Danganronpa was based on that quote. By the way, I'm not playing this down for the camera. You know, that's a weird thing to say, because usually it's the other way around, people playing things up for the camera, but I'm not actually so much more frustrated than I appear. I'm just taking things easy because I don't see a reason why I shouldn't. You know, I just thought of another potential way to cheese this game's saving. It's very possible, well, I'm sure that there's a save file somewhere in the game's folder, like on your computer. So, I wouldn't doubt that, at least if it wasn't connected to Steam directly, that you could just copy that folder once you're at a certain point, or that file, and just keep it around and then replace it once you've lost progress. Again, not sure if that's how the saving really does work.
First chill, then stupor, then the letting go. Emily Dickinson.
Was that 2 Emily Dickinson quotes in a row? If this is the kind of literature that Foddy likes, then I can't exactly blame him for repeating people, but you know, I just kind of expect more variety here. You know, because if someone decided that they didn't like William Shakespeare and they didn't like him as a person, hearing 4 quotes that say the same thing isn't gonna really sell them on what those quotes are saying.
I feel your pain.
That was
The pain
fascinating.
in knowing this has happened to you. The pain in knowing what more tears we've gained. But through all this, I feel your pain. Octavia Hawkins Richardson.
Do you now, Octavia? I mean, I don't know if he feels any pain. Most of these people that have been quoted, I think, are dead.
I'm crushing your dreams and dashing your hopes. You're climbing a mountain with a hammer and no ropes.
That is true. Well, that second part. I don't know about that first part. I don't feel like my dreams are being crushed in any way in particular by this game, unless in the sense that I'm wasting my time playing this as opposed to doing something more productive. In which case, maybe. What is that picture up there? I'm sure it's a famous piece of artwork that I should recognize, but to me it just looks like a couple of people in either a large sewer pipe or a cornucopia, just kind of sitting around while dogs are watching them. Back to the oranges again. Do you know what rhymes with orange? Purple, because they both rhyme with nothing. Made you think. Nice and easy, nice and slow. Then I immediately launch myself over the slide and then go all the way back to the beginning. Whenever I started playing this, the first thing that I did, actually, was try to find out what happens whenever you go directly to the left from the start, because I'd never seen anyone do that. But if you fall into the water at the beginning, the screen kind of goes red and then you reset at the default point. Which is pretty much what I expected, but again, I'd just never seen it, so I was curious. Excuse me. Hearing nothing but the wind. I was gonna say the wind against my feet, but, you know, this guy's feet are kind of in a pot of water, unless he doesn't even have feet. Maybe I should just take the slower route again. And try to attempt to not go too slowly. And you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to change the graphical settings back to good or great, but at this point, I don't really want to do that.
The mountain seems no more a soulless thing, but rather as a shape of ancient fear, in darkness and the winds of chaos born, amid the lordless heavens thundering, a presence crouched, enormous and austere, before whose feet the mighty waters mourn. George Sterling.